Business and Trade Minister Greg Hands is with us this morning. I'm not going to ask you about the budget because you're not going to tell me very much at all, but I wondered if I could just ask you this. Potentially, what would a responsible budget look like?
I think a responsible budget would be making sure the country, the economy, continues to recover from the pandemic, from Putin's illegal invasion of Ukraine, the spike in inflation that we've had to deal with. And I think that means continuing to put record amount of funding into public services, while still giving the British people, I think, a bit of a tax break this year as well. That's what I think a responsible budget would look like, a balance between the need to reduce taxation while still keeping record amount of funding into public services.
I'm reading that in this morning's newspapers that potentially we could see services cut in order to pay for a tax cut.
Well, I think judges on our record, over the course of this Parliament, there have been real terms increases in funding going into public services. We've got record numbers of police officers, record numbers of doctors, record numbers of nurses. I would say judges on our record, but we'll have to wait and see the budget tomorrow.
So you don't think there will be any cuts in public services?
Well, judges on our record so far. It's not for me to reveal today what might be in the budget tomorrow, but I would say there's record number of police officers, record numbers of doctors, record numbers of nurses. That is the commitment that this government has shown to public services over the course of this whole Parliament.
You heard our report, I'm sure, a little bit earlier on. You're just waiting in the wings when we were speaking to Laura Bundock about whether the King should say sorry for historic grievances when it comes to the slave trade. What's the government's view?
Well, look, I think these are matters for each person, but I don't think this is something, it's the government, it's actually the country, the United Kingdom, that abolished the transatlantic slave trade now some 217 years ago. It was actually the UK that is at the forefront of abolishing that trade, enforced by the Royal Navy 217 years ago. So I think the better thing for us to do is to
Does that mean we don't have to say sorry?
Well, I think the better thing for us to do is to look forward to the future and to do things like making sure that our society remains cohesive and that we take on things like extremism, which is what the Prime Minister's statement was all about on Friday. There'll be government announcements coming up on how we make that happen, how we actually, looking forward, gel together as a society. I think that's the more important priority.
So the King has nothing to apologise for?
Well, look, I'm just saying that from a government perspective, what we are doing is looking to the future to make sure that Britain remains a cohesive society.
What's your reaction to, were you in the chamber yesterday when George Galloway?
I wasn't, no.
Are you sorry about that?
Well, look, I think it's not a good day for the country. It's not a good day for anybody to see. I've been an MP now for 19 years and I've seen George Galloway now represent 3 different constituencies. Each time he's let down those constituents and not been re-elected. But I think this is more a reflection on Keir Starmer, I would say, rather than the government. It's Keir Starmer and Labour that messed up in Rochdale by selecting a candidate who was shown to be saying quite a few extreme anti-Semitic things. So I think this is all on Keir Starmer. It's the mistake of the Labour Party.
Messed up or did the right thing?
Sorry, beg your pardon?
Messed up or did the right thing?
Well, no, I think he messed up because, that person should not have been selected in the first place. I think what we're seeing here is Keir Starmer's not able to run the Labour Party. This is a person who wants to run the country, but he can't even run his own party competently. He's not got rid of the anti-Semitism that we saw during the Corbyn years. He's not taken effective action. Yet this is the person who says he wants to run Britain, but can't even run the Labour Party properly.
You elected somebody who was deputy chairman of your party, who was questionably Islamophobic in some of his comments.
Well, look, I think we took action on Lee Anderson, which I think is the case
So did Keir
that you're
Starmer.
Talking about.
So did Keir Starmer.
Well, hold on, but the Keir Starmer case is a little bit different because there you're talking about somebody being excluded effectively from the election, the by-election in Rochdale. So what happened in Rochdale is that people weren't allowed effectively to choose the Labour Party candidate, one of the 2 major parties in this country. And it was a very, very poor vetting, if you like, poor selection process by Labour. And this is the person who aspires to run the country. As I say, he can't even run the Labour Party.
But you elected somebody as deputy chairman who was potentially Islamophobic.
Well, look, and that is why, having looked at the comments, and particularly the refusal to apologise, that is why Rishi Sunak and the Chief Whip withdrew the whip.
Sounds like Lee Anderson. He's refused to apologise.
Well, that's what I mean. Lee Anderson refused to apologise, therefore he had the whip withdrawn. But this is a bit of a different case. Here we're talking about something, a systemic problem within the Labour Party that Keir Starmer has not got a grip on. The anti-Semitism, we saw the Labour Party being rebuked officially for anti-Semitism in the past. Keir Starmer said he was going to get a grip on it and hasn't.
OK, so if you saw George Galloway in the tea rooms or in the corridors, what would you say to him?
Well, I'm not on speaking terms with George Galloway.
Why not?
I never have been. It's been, to be honest, we've been
MPs. What
MPs.
offends you about him?
Well, we're MPs twice together, and I don't. I think he's somebody who has an extremist view of the world, and is not somebody that I engage with.
But democratically elected.
He is democratically elected, yeah.
How worried are you about the Rwanda bill and the fact that it was defeated 5 times yesterday? Well,
look, I think we'll have to see when the bill comes back to the House of Commons, to the elected House. I don't think anybody thought it was going to have an easy passage through the House of Lords.
That's an understatement, Mr. Hans.
But I think it's an important thing to do. What we're trying to do here is to set up something that offers a deterrent for people coming illegally to the UK, that there will be a knowledge that they will be removed to a safe third country. That is what the Rwanda bill is all about. The government remains committed to getting that through, and we'll have to see how, what condition the bill comes back to the Commons.
Because, of course, you can overrule the Lords if you want to.
Well, we'll have to see. You know, we'll have to see when it comes back to the Commons. But there was a clear majority in the Commons at second reading. There's a clear determination from the government to do this. And I think with the support of the British people, I think the British people recognise there needs to be a deterrent for people crossing the Channel illegally. Has to be a way of closing down the people smugglers, the people who really profit from this. We've got to make sure that this is tough on the people smugglers and tough on illegal migration.
So potentially you could overrule the House of Lords?
Well, I think we'll have to see what
You need to get these planes off the ground, don't you, really, if you've got any chance at all of winning the next election?
Well, it's not just an election issue. It is also about what's doing right for the country. There's too much illegal migration into the country. We have been taking action. Small boat arrivals are down about 35% last year compared to the year before, whilst being up in Europe.
That was because of Albania and doing a deal with them as opposed to
but that's important, Kate, but that's exactly what we're doing. We're doing deals with Albania.
Two issues there.
We've done a deal with Rwanda. We now need to pass the legislation. It's all part of a firm, effective government action on these issues.
However, you often tell us that it's a deterrent for people crossing the Channel. But I think, am I not right in saying that a 10-year-old girl, or I think she was 10, died during a boat crossing just a couple of days ago? Well,
there's some awful human tragedies playing out in the Channel and actually in the Mediterranean as well. But that is the point behind the action that we're taking, is making sure that these illegal...
But it's not deterring them.
Well, but it's not currently deterring them, but in the future, with the Rwanda legislation passed, what we will be doing is clamping down on the people smugglers, who are the people who are really profiting and driving this inhumane and awful thing that we're seeing in the Channel.
OK. Thank you very much indeed for taking the time, Minister.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.